The hum of the council chamber was deafening. The vast room, adorned with holographic projections of distant galaxies, felt suffocating. All eyes were fixed on the Earth delegation as they stood before the Council of Galactic Civilizations, an assembly of the universe's most advanced and powerful species. The Earth had made it this far, a single planet amongst the many, after centuries of effort, exploration, and diplomacy. But now, something had shifted, something that could alter the future of humanity forever. Ethan Parker, the lead negotiator for Earth, wiped his clammy palms against his trousers. He had prepared for this moment for years, decades even, but nothing could prepare him for what was coming. His breath quickened as the voice of the Council's chairperson echoed through the chamber. The Council has reviewed the history and actions of the planet Earth. It is with grave consideration that we, the Council members, have come to a unanimous decision. The chairperson's words reverberated through the room, settling into the ears of the Earth delegation like a stone dropped into a pool of water. The ripples of disbelief were impossible to ignore. Earth is hereby exiled from the Council. All rights to interstellar trade, collaboration, and exploration are revoked. You will not be permitted to associate with any member of this body. A low murmur spread throughout the chamber. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Exile? The Council had never before made such a drastic decision. Earth had made mistakes, of course, who hadn't? But exile? That was reserved for the most severe transgressions. What had gone wrong? He glanced to his left at Melissa Mitchell, his second in command. Her eyes widened, but she quickly masked her shock with the professionalism that had gotten her to this point. Thomas Mitchell, Earth's ambassador and his father, stood beside them, his face an unreadable mask, though his hands trembled at his side. Ethan turned back to the chairperson, his throat tight. Exile? For what? We've followed the protocols. We've made every effort to comply with the Council's laws. You can't just. You speak of compliance, the chairperson interjected coldly, but your actions speak louder than words. Earth has repeatedly violated the core principles of the Council. Your species' rapid technological advancements, your reckless exploration, and, most concerning, your blatant disregard for the galactic balance. Ethan felt the blood drain from his face. We've followed every law. We've taken every precaution. We're a peaceful species. What more do you want from us? The chairperson didn't respond immediately. Instead, she glanced at the other members of the Council, each one seated on a pedestal, their alien forms a blur of advanced technology and organic life, their eyes full of judgment. After a long pause, the chairperson continued. The Council has been patient. But Earth's actions threaten the delicate equilibrium of the galaxy. You're growing too quickly, expanding too far, without consideration for the consequences. It is no longer safe to allow you to interact with the other civilizations. Ethan's mind raced. This wasn't the Earth he knew, the Earth that had fought to prove itself, to make amends for its mistakes, to forge lasting peace with the other races. They had earned their place here, hadn't they? But something in the chairperson's tone told him that this wasn't about logic. It was about power. About control. We demand an explanation. Ethan's voice echoed through the chamber, raw with emotion. You can't just condemn us like this. What about the good we've done? What about the alliances we've built, the knowledge we've shared? The chairperson raised a hand, silencing him with a simple gesture. Your actions are irrelevant now. The decision is final. Earth is exiled from the Council. No trade, no communication. No future. The words landed like a punch. Ethan felt the weight of them settle deep into his chest, each syllable a dagger aimed at the heart of everything they had worked for. He turned to Melissa and Thomas. They were both staring at the floor, speechless. Ethan could see the fear in his father's eyes, fear that Earth would crumble without the Council's support, fear that humanity would be cast adrift in a galaxy far too dangerous for them to survive alone. But something inside him snapped. "We will not accept this." The words escaped his lips before he could stop them. He wasn't sure if he was speaking to the Council, to himself, or to humanity at large. The Earth wasn't going to let anyone dictate its fate. Not like this. "You're wrong," he continued, his voice growing stronger with each word. "We will build our own future. We don't need the Council to survive." The chairperson's eyes narrowed. "Foolishness. Your pride will be your undoing. You cannot stand alone against the forces of the galaxy." But Ethan wasn't listening anymore. His mind was already racing ahead, forming plans. The Earth would find a way. The Council's decision might exile them, but they couldn't erase humanity. They couldn't erase their spirit, their ingenuity, their hunger to survive. As the Council members murmured amongst themselves, Ethan's attention was drawn to a sudden flash of light outside the chamber's panoramic windows. At first, it seemed like a distant star, just another point of light in the infinite expanse of space. But then the light grew brighter, closer. Something was approaching. A fleet, perhaps, too many ships to count. Silent. Unmoving. Watching. "What is that?" Thomas whispered, his voice barely audible. Ethan turned to see the fear in his father's eyes, mirroring his own. "I don't know." The chairperson's voice cut through the tension. "That, humans, is your future. The consequences of your actions." Ethan tried to focus on the ships, but his mind was clouded by the weight of the Council's decision. This wasn't over. It couldn't be. As the last of the Council members stood, leaving the Earth delegation alone in the chamber, a cold realization settled over Ethan. The Council may have exiled them, but this fleet, whatever it was, had arrived with a message. One they couldn't ignore. And that message would change everything. The news of Earth's exile from the Council was more than just a political catastrophe, it was a death sentence. The entire world watched in stunned silence as Earth's delegates returned from the Council chamber, their faces drawn, their spirits crushed. Ethan Parker, though still shaken, could not let the fear paralyze him. The future of humanity rested on his shoulders now, more than ever before. Back in the high-security briefing room, Ethan stood before a holographic projection of Earth's solar system. The brilliant blue and green sphere was still vibrant with life, but there was a new weight to it now, as though the planet itself had been branded with a scar. The Council's decision had sent shockwaves through every government, every city, every home on Earth. Around him, leaders from every sector of society gathered, politicians, military officers, scientists, and strategists, all of them aware that the delicate balance of power in the galaxy had shifted irrevocably. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of machinery and the occasional beeping of control panels. Everyone was waiting for Ethan to speak. He cleared his throat, forcing himself to meet their eyes. "We're not going to give up. Earth is not just going to fade into the darkness of space. We will survive this." His voice was steady, though inside, he felt a cold pit of doubt forming. The Council had exiled Earth for reasons that no one fully understood. They had warned of Earth's recklessness, of their blatant disregard for galactic balance, as the chairperson had put it. But there had to be more. Something had been left unsaid, something hidden behind the Council's cold, bureaucratic veneer. Melissa Mitchell, his trusted second-in-command, was the first to speak. Her voice was calm, but the tension in her shoulders betrayed her anxiety. "We need to understand why the Council did this. We can't just act blindly." Ethan nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. "We will. But first, we need to focus on the immediate threat. That fleet, those ships outside our solar system, they're not here by accident." The projection flickered, showing the mysterious fleet that had appeared as they left the Council's chamber. From the moment they had first detected the ships, Ethan's mind had raced. He could feel the weight of their presence, silent, calculating, watching. A new voice joined the conversation, Thomas Mitchell, Ethan's father and Earth's senior ambassador to the Council. His voice, though older, still carried a gravitas that demanded attention. "You're right, Ethan. We've never seen anything like it. Not even the most advanced military intelligence can identify their origin." The flickering hologram displayed the ships in perfect alignment, their shapes too symmetrical to be a natural phenomenon. They were clearly deliberate. And worse, they were moving closer. "What if this is the consequence the Council warned us about?" Thomas added gravely. "We've made enemies in the galaxy. If that fleet is here for retribution—" Ethan cut him off, his voice firm. "We're not going to assume the worst just yet. We need to act, not react. There's too much at stake for us to sit back and wait." A younger officer, Lieutenant Jonah Cruz, spoke up from the back of the room. "What do you suggest, sir? We can't just send a few ships to investigate. The fleet is far too large. We need a strategy." Ethan took a deep breath. He felt the pressure of their eyes on him, but he pushed it aside. "We'll need to gather information first. We have to understand who or what we're dealing with before making any decisions. The first step is to send a probe, something small, undetectable, something they won't see coming." There was a moment of hesitation, but then, one by one, the room nodded. Melissa and Thomas exchanged a glance, silently agreeing with Ethan's plan. A probe could be the key to uncovering the mystery of the fleet, and possibly even the reason for Earth's exile. As they prepared for the mission, the shadow of the unknown fleet loomed larger. The silent ships remained at the edge of the solar system, their motives unclear. And with every passing minute, the tension in the room increased. Could humanity survive the consequences of the Council's decision? Hours later, aboard Earth's deep space reconnaissance ship Intrepid, the crew worked feverishly to prepare the probe for launch. The Intrepid was one of Earth's most advanced vessels, capable of reaching the farthest edges of the solar system with ease. But even it seemed small compared to the mystery that awaited. Ethan stood at the ship's command center, watching as the crew made the final adjustments. Melissa, as always, was by his side, her eyes scanning the room, her expression unreadable. "Do you think they'll be watching?" she asked, her voice soft. Ethan didn't need to ask who she was talking about. The fleet, those strange, imposing ships, were still out there, waiting, watching. "I don't think they've taken their eyes off us since the moment we left the Council chamber," he replied. "But that's the point. They won't expect a probe. If we send it deep into their territory, we might be able to gather the intel we need without them realizing it. And if they do see it?" Melissa's question was laced with concern. Ethan paused. "Then we'll deal with it. We're humans. We always find a way." But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. He had seen the way the Council had looked at him, at Earth, the fear, the judgment. And now this fleet, this unknown threat. What if they had made a mistake? What if humanity was not ready for the galaxy's true dangers? "Ready for launch," the technician's voice broke through his thoughts. Ethan's gaze flickered to the large monitor in front of him. The probe, small and unassuming, was preparing to launch into the abyss of space. His heart pounded in his chest as the countdown began. 3, 2, 1, launch. The probe shot out of the Intrepid and disappeared into the darkness. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Then, the monitors blinked to life, showing the probe's journey into the depths of space. But as it approached the fleet, the signal suddenly cut out. The probe vanished, like a pebble thrown into an ocean of stars. "What the hell just happened?" Jonah's voice cracked through the sudden tension. "We lost the signal. The probe's gone." Ethan's stomach dropped. He had expected some interference, but this? The probe had been designed to withstand intense conditions. It shouldn't have just vanished. "Get me a closer look. Now!" Ethan barked. The command center scrambled to assess the situation. What had happened to the probe? What was out there? The seconds stretched on like hours. Then, the impossible happened. The fleet moved. One by one, the ships in the distant fleet slowly shifted, their symmetrical formations splitting as they began to move toward Earth's solar system. They were not advancing rapidly, but their motion was deliberate, calculated. "They're coming," Melissa whispered, her voice a mix of awe and dread. The fleet, once a silent observer, was now heading toward them. And they were not just coming for answers, they were coming for something far more dangerous. The tension on Earth was palpable. Governments scrambled to respond, military strategists convened, and scientists worked around the clock to decipher what had happened to the probe. The silence of the unknown fleet was now replaced with the haunting reality that they were coming closer, their purpose still unclear. But one thing was certain, the Council's Exiled decision had only set the stage for an even more dangerous chapter in humanity's history. Ethan Parker stood before a holographic map of the solar system, the image of Earth's distant fleet still etched in his mind. The ships, silent, massive, and symmetrical, had moved. But their intentions were still a mystery. They were not here by accident, that much was clear. They were not just monitoring. They were coming for something. But what? "We've got to be ready," Ethan said, his voice firm as he looked over the data. "They might not have fired on us yet, but we can't take that chance. We need a plan." Around him, the room was tense with activity. Melissa Mitchell stood to his side, watching the screens flicker with information, but her mind was elsewhere. Her eyes were distant, and Ethan knew exactly where her thoughts were. The same place his own were, on the missing probe. What had happened to it? Why had it been destroyed so suddenly? And what was the fleet's next move? "Sir, we've got another anomaly." The voice of Lieutenant Cruz cut through his thoughts. He turned sharply toward the communication officer, who was staring at a monitor with growing concern. "The fleet's ships, they've changed course again. They're heading for the asteroid belt. Should we intercept?" Ethan frowned, his mind racing. The asteroid belt? That wasn't anywhere near Earth's main defense systems. The vast collection of rocky debris was an area no one in their right mind would traverse without reason. Unless they were hiding something. No. Not yet. Let's keep our distance. Send out a reconnaissance drone, something smaller this time, but don't engage them. The crew worked quickly, sending out a second drone, smaller and less detectable than the first. But even as they did, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The fleet might not have attacked yet, but they were moving with purpose. And purpose, in the galaxy's dark corners, often meant something far more sinister than anyone could anticipate. Hours passed. The second drone's signal flickered in and out of range, but it continued its mission. From the command center of Intrepid, Ethan and his team tracked its progress as it neared the asteroid belt. The vast array of rocky fragments lay between the inner planets and the outer reaches of the solar system, forming a natural barrier. But the further they pushed into the asteroid belt, the stranger things became. The drone system started to report strange gravitational shifts, as if the fabric of space itself was being distorted. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as the first signs of interference came in. "What's happening to the drone systems?" "It's being pulled off course," Cruz replied, eyes wide in disbelief. It's like something is manipulating gravity. There's a massive gravitational anomaly in that region." Before Ethan could respond, the screen flickered again. The drone's signal was completely lost. "No," Ethan muttered. "Damn it. What just happened? We've lost contact." Melissa's voice was quiet, but her words carried a weight of finality. She turned to face Ethan, her face etched with concern. "This is no coincidence. They wanted us to lose that drone. Whatever's out there, they're controlling the space around them." For a moment, there was silence. The room was frozen in place as the enormity of what was happening began to sink in. The fleet wasn't just an enemy force. It was something much older, much more dangerous. And it wasn't just a threat to Earth, it was a threat to everything humanity had ever known about space. "Sir," Cruz said again, his voice shaky. "We're not getting any signals from the drone, but there's something else. I'm detecting massive energy readings coming from the edge of the asteroid belt. Something's powering up." The screens in front of Ethan flickered to life once more, showing the area around the asteroid belt in striking detail. And then, it happened. The space around the fleet shifted. A massive ripple tore through the fabric of reality itself. The ship that had previously been moving slowly toward the asteroid belt now surged forward, a sudden burst of energy propelling it with incredible speed. The ships were not just spacefaring, they were warships, capable of bending space to their will. "They're charging something," Melissa said, her voice steady but filled with unease. "We need to get ahead of them. Now." Ethan didn't wait for anyone to respond. His mind was already working at full speed. "Prepare the Intrepid for launch. I want us at the asteroid belt in 10 minutes. Get every defense system online. This might be our only chance." As the crew scrambled to follow his orders, Ethan's thoughts turned inward. The gravitational anomaly, the sudden burst of energy, it all pointed to one thing. The fleet had a weapon, something far beyond anything Earth had ever encountered. And now, it was on the move. Meanwhile, at Earth's command center, the situation was growing dire. The sudden shift in the fleet's position had triggered alarms across Earth's defenses. Satellites were being rerouted, ships were being prepped for combat, and messages were being sent out to every corner of the planet. Earth was preparing for war. Ethan stood at the command center of the Intrepid, looking at the massive holographic map that showed the asteroid belt. The fleet's ships had begun to scatter, moving in calculated formations. They were using the belt as cover, hiding behind the debris and rocks to mask their movements. Ethan's instincts told him they weren't just waiting to strike, they were waiting for the right moment. And that moment was quickly approaching. "They're not just going to let us pass through," Ethan said, his voice low. "We've seen their capabilities. The fleet is more than we ever imagined. Whatever weapon they have, it's not something we can counter with conventional force." Melissa, ever the pragmatist, didn't hesitate. "Then we find a way to disable them. If we can get close enough, we might be able to infiltrate one of their ships, learn more about their technology. There's got to be something, anything, that will give us an edge." Ethan turned to her, meeting her gaze. "You're right. If we don't do this now, we might not get another chance." The decision was made. With the fleet moving into position, it was time for humanity to take a bold step forward. The Intrepid would make its way into the asteroid belt, to the very edge of the unknown fleet. And they would go where no Earth vessel had ever dared before. As the Intrepid neared the asteroid belt, Ethan could feel the pulse of the ship beneath his feet, the hum of the engines as they pushed through the space between the rocks and debris. The ship's sensors were on high alert, scanning every inch of the belt, looking for any sign of the fleet. But there was nothing. The fleet had vanished again. "What the hell?" Cruz muttered, his fingers flying over the controls. "We were just tracking them. They shouldn't be able to disappear like this." "They've cloaked themselves," Ethan said, his voice hard with resolve. "We need to get closer." But as they edged closer to the heart of the asteroid field, a sudden surge of energy filled the space around them. The fleet had activated their weapon, whatever it was, and the Intrepid was caught in the blast. The ship was thrown into chaos. Lights flickered, alarms blared, and the crew struggled to maintain control as the ship was jolted violently. Ethan was thrown against the wall, his vision spinning, but he fought to regain his composure. "Report," he shouted, his voice barely cutting through the din of the alarms. "Shields are down," Cruz shouted back. We've been hit with a massive energy pulse. We're losing power. The Intrepid was drifting, powerless against the overwhelming force of the unknown fleet. They had no shields. No weapons. And worst of all, they were trapped in the asteroid belt, with the fleet closing in. The Intrepid drifted through the asteroid belt, its systems barely functional, the crew struggling to regain control. Ethan Parker stood at the front of the command center, eyes narrowed, his hands clenched into fists as he stared at the screens. The mysterious fleet had crippled their ship with a single, devastating pulse of energy, leaving them with no choice but to remain in the debris field, hoping for a chance to survive. But survival, at this moment, felt like an impossible dream. "Shields are down to 15%, Lieutenant Cruz reported, his voice strained as he worked frantically at the control panels. "We can't hold out much longer, sir." Melissa Mitchell was at his side, her face pale but resolute. "We've got to get out of here. We can't just sit and wait for them to finish us off." Ethan's mind raced. The fleet had made its move. They weren't just here to watch. They had attacked with terrifying efficiency. And now, they were closing in. The Intrepid was a sitting duck. But Ethan wasn't about to let it end like this. "We won't go down without a fight. But we need information. We need to know why they're doing this, why Earth is their target." He turned toward the tactical officer. "Start running diagnostics. Look for anything that could help us figure out how to disable their weapons or communications." "Aye, sir." As the crew scrambled to assess the damage, Ethan's mind continued to churn. The question that had been plaguing him since the Council's decision remained: why had Earth been exiled? The Council's reasoning, Earth's reckless growth, its disregard for galactic balance, hadn't felt like the full picture. There had to be something more. Something hidden in Earth's past. Something the fleet knew that Earth didn't. Melissa stepped closer to him, her voice low but urgent. "Ethan, we need to focus. We can't get sidetracked. We have to get the Intrepid back in working order." But Ethan shook his head. "I know. But if we don't understand the root of this problem, we'll never be able to stop it. We need to know who's behind this. We need answers." Hours passed in tense silence. The crew worked relentlessly to repair the ship's systems. The asteroid belt outside was eerily quiet now, the fleet's ships hidden in the shadows, watching, waiting. But then, something changed. "Sir," Cruz's voice broke the silence. "We've got a signal. A faint transmission coming from one of the fleet's ships." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Is it coming from their command ship?" Cruz shook his head, his eyes wide in disbelief. "No, sir. It's coming from a smaller ship, an auxiliary vessel. It's broadcasting on a frequency we can't identify. But it's definitely a message, not a random transmission." Ethan didn't waste a second. "Patch it through. Let's hear it." The room fell silent as the static-filled transmission came through, its distorted voice barely recognizable. "To the human vessel. We have been waiting for you. You have no idea what you have awoken. The time is upon us. The secrets of your history, they will be revealed." The voice cut off abruptly, leaving only the hum of the broken Intrepid systems. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "What does that mean?" Melissa asked, her tone flat with uncertainty. Ethan swallowed hard. "It means they know something we don't. And they're not here to negotiate." The transmission, though cryptic, had confirmed what Ethan had feared. The fleet wasn't just a random enemy. They knew Earth's history, and they were waiting for something. But what? And why now? Later that evening, deep in the heart of the Intrepid's observation deck, Ethan and Melissa sat in silence, the weight of their situation pressing down on them. The crew had made some progress repairing their systems, but it was clear that they didn't have much time. The fleet's ships had moved closer again, their shadows darkening the surrounding space. Ethan turned to Melissa, his eyes tired but determined. "Melissa, we need to go back. Back to Earth's past. There's something about our history that we're missing." Her eyes flickered with a mix of confusion and concern. "What do you mean? We've studied Earth's past countless times. What's so different now?" Ethan leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. "I've been thinking about the Council's decision. Why exile us? Why this sudden move to push us out of the galactic community? There's something they're not telling us. Something they're keeping hidden." Melissa frowned. "Ethan, I don't understand. The Council's decision was harsh, but they've always had their reasons. We've made enemies over the years. Why would they hide anything?" Ethan stood, his frustration building. "Because we weren't just banished, Melissa. We were erased. The Council didn't just revoke our membership. They erased our history from their records. They removed us from the books. Our entire existence has been wiped clean from the galactic history." Her eyes widened in realization. "You're saying they've been hiding the truth about Earth?" Ethan nodded grimly. "I don't know exactly what that truth is yet, but I do know that the fleet out there, they know something we don't. And if we're going to survive, we need to uncover that secret. We need to know what Earth's true role in this galaxy is." The crew continued to work through the night, but by morning, a breakthrough came. The damaged communications panel flickered to life once again, and a new transmission was detected. This time, the message wasn't as cryptic, it was direct, almost too direct. "To the exiled humans, we have one final chance to stop the awakening. If you fail to heed our warning, the consequences will be irreversible. The truth about Earth's origin will destroy you. The Council was right to exterminate your kind. You were always a threat." Ethan stared at the transmission in shock. The message was from the fleet, but it carried a weight far greater than anything they had encountered so far. "Exterminate us? What are they talking about?" Melissa's voice was strained. "This isn't just a war, is it? They're not just here to stop us, they're here to erase us completely." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. The fleet's ships weren't just enemies, they were agents of something much larger. And they were not going to stop until Earth was destroyed. "We need to get to Earth," Ethan said, determination in his voice. "We need to find out the truth before it's too late. We've been given a clue. We just have to follow it." As the Intrepid made its way back toward Earth's orbit, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The fleet had not advanced further, but their presence loomed over them, a constant reminder of the deadly game being played in the dark corners of space. But Earth's fate was not in the hands of the fleet alone. There was something far bigger at play. Ethan gathered the crew together once more, his mind set on one thing: uncovering the truth. The truth about Earth's history, the secrets hidden away by the Council, and the unknown force that had waited for centuries to awaken. He turned to his crew, his face resolute. "We're going to find out who's behind this. And we're going to stop them." The journey back to Earth had been slow, agonizing. The Intrepid limped through the void of space, its system still damaged from the energy pulse that had crippled it days ago. Ethan Parker, though his face was calm and collected, felt the weight of the decision they'd made. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about truth. And that truth, he feared, was going to tear humanity apart. The fleet, the one that had been watching them from the edges of the solar system, hadn't moved. They hadn't come closer, but they hadn't retreated either. The stillness was oppressive, as if they were simply waiting, biding their time. But there was something else gnawing at Ethan, something he couldn't shake. Every decision he made, every step toward uncovering the truth, was getting harder. The answers they sought had always seemed just out of reach, but now, with Earth's future hanging in the balance, they were closer than ever. The crew was on edge, the constant monitoring of the fleet wearing them down. Ethan sat in the command center, staring at the holographic image of Earth rotating slowly on the screen. They were nearing the planet, but even the sight of home didn't bring him peace. It only reminded him of how much was at stake. "Ethan, we're approaching Earth's orbit," came Melissa's voice from behind him. She entered the room, her footsteps light but purposeful. Ethan didn't respond immediately. Instead, he studied the screen. "I know. I'm just thinking." Melissa frowned, sensing his unease. "About the fleet?" "No. About everything. The fleet, the council, Earth's history, the truth that's out there. We're about to uncover something so massive, so dangerous, that I'm not sure humanity will be able to handle it." She stepped closer, her eyes narrowing. "What truth? What are you talking about?" Ethan turned to her, his expression dark. "They said it on the transmission. The fleet, they know about Earth's past. Our true past. The one the council erased. What if that truth, what if what's hidden is so dangerous that it could destroy us?" Melissa's face hardened, and she crossed her arms. "And yet, we have to know it. Because if we don't, we'll be blind to whatever they have planned for us. And whatever that is, it won't be good." Ethan nodded, but doubt lingered in his chest. "I just don't know how deep this goes. We could be walking into a trap." Just as he spoke, Cruz's voice crackled over the intercom. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the fleet. It's different. It's not the same as before." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Patch it through." The crew fell silent as the transmission filled the room. This time, there was no static, no distortion, just a clear, calm voice. "To the humans aboard the Intrepid, you have reached the point of no return. The time has come for you to face the truth about your origins. But know this, some truths are better left hidden. You will not survive this revelation. We will not allow your kind to continue unchecked." The message sent a chill through the room. There was something unsettling about the calmness of the voice, as though the fleet knew exactly what would happen next. Ethan's mind raced. What the hell are they talking about? He stood up, moving to the central console. Who are these people? Why are they doing this? Before anyone could answer, Cruz spoke again, his voice trembling. "Sir, we've detected something new. The fleet's ships are moving again. But they're heading in the opposite direction, toward the outer rim of the solar system." "What?" Ethan turned sharply. "Why would they retreat? What's out there?" The answer came from the sensors. A massive energy signature appeared at the edge of the solar system, flickering like a distant star. It wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was something artificial, something powerful. "Is that?" Melissa's voice trailed off, her eyes wide. "Is that their base?" Ethan didn't wait for confirmation. "Prepare for an immediate course change. We're going after them. This could be the break we need." The Intrepid surged forward, its engines straining as it moved toward the source of the energy signature. The fleet's retreat had caught them off guard, but it had also given them an opportunity. They had to follow it, whatever it was. If the fleet was going there, it meant that whatever lay ahead was crucial to understanding Earth's true history. Ethan stood at the helm, his face set with grim determination. "We can't afford to hesitate now. Whatever we find out there, we have to be ready for it." The crew was silent, each of them bracing for what was to come. The journey was long, the stars stretching endlessly before them. But the energy signature loomed large on their screens, growing closer with each passing minute. And as they moved closer to the source, the tension in the air grew palpable. 5 minutes to the energy signature, Cruz announced, his voice tinged with nervous anticipation. Ethan nodded, but the unease in his chest grew heavier. "Stay sharp. We don't know what we're walking into." Minutes later, the Intrepid arrived at the source of the energy signature, a massive structure, floating in the darkness of space. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. A colossal ring, suspended in the void, its surface covered in strange symbols and alien markings. The energy emanating from it was overwhelming, its power unlike anything the humans had ever encountered. "What the hell is that?" Melissa whispered, her voice filled with awe and fear. "I don't know," Ethan replied, his mind racing. "But whatever it is, it's connected to the fleet. And it's the key to everything." The structure pulsed with energy, sending ripples through the surrounding space. And as the Intrepid drew closer, the truth began to unfold. The structure wasn't just a ship or a station, it was something far older, far more dangerous. Ethan could feel it in his bones. "Sir," Cruz said, his voice strained. "We're receiving another transmission. It's coming from the structure itself." Ethan's heart raced. "Put it through." The transmission crackled to life, and a voice, this time far colder, far more malevolent, spoke. "To the humans who dare to seek the truth, you have come too far. This place, this construct, is the heart of your past. It is the birthplace of your kind. And it is where your future will end." The message sent a wave of dread through Ethan's chest. "Birthplace of your kind? What does that mean?" he muttered, barely able to process the words. Before anyone could answer, a voice broke through the tension. Thomas Mitchell, Ethan's father, appeared on a secure channel. His face was ashen, his eyes filled with fear. "Ethan, listen to me. You need to get out of there. You don't know what you've uncovered. That structure, it's not just some alien relic. It's a weapon. And it's tied to Earth's history, our origins. If you go any further, you'll unleash something that will destroy humanity." Ethan froze, his blood running cold. "What are you talking about? What weapon? What do you mean, our origins?" But Thomas's face was pale, his voice trembling. "I can't explain it all now. But you need to trust me. The Council exiled us for a reason. And what's out there, it's the reason. Don't make the same mistake I did. Turn back, Ethan. Turn back before it's too late." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Ethan staring at the screen, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. What had he just learned? What was so dangerous about this structure? And what had his father been hiding? The void of space stretched out before them, an endless expanse that seemed to swallow everything in its path. The Intrepid was suspended in front of the massive, alien structure, an ancient ring, its surface covered in cryptic symbols and strange, glowing lines. The energy readings were off the charts, pulsing with a power so intense that the crew could feel it through the ship's hull, vibrating through their bones. Ethan Parker stood at the helm, his mind racing. The warning from his father still echoed in his head, "Turn back, Ethan. It's not worth the risk. You don't understand what you're dealing with." But he couldn't turn back, not now. The answers were so close, and with every passing second, the weight of what had been uncovered pressed down on him. "What now, Ethan?" Melissa Mitchell's voice cut through his thoughts, steady but laced with concern. She stood beside him, her eyes locked on the alien structure, her face a mix of awe and fear. "We find the truth," Ethan replied, his voice unwavering. He couldn't afford hesitation, not now. The fleet had been waiting for this moment, and so had Earth's hidden past. "We need to go inside. That's where the answers are." The transmission from the alien fleet still echoed in his mind. The voice had been so calm, so cold. "This place, this construct, is the heart of your past. It is the birthplace of your kind. And it is where your future will end." What did that mean? Was Earth truly the creation of this alien force? And if so, why had the Council exiled them? What had gone so terribly wrong? As the Intrepid hovered in place, the massive ring began to hum. The energy emanating from it was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. A feeling of inevitability gripped Ethan's chest. They were about to uncover something that could change everything. And one that seemed to come from all directions, echoing in his mind. Welcome, humans. You have come far, farther than most would dare. And now, you will learn the truth of your creation. Ethan recoiled, instinctively pulling his hand back. Who are you? He demanded. I am the keeper of your history, the guardian of your past. You were never meant to know the truth, but now you must. The voice paused, as if weighing its words carefully. You are not the first. Many before you have walked this path, seeking answers they were never meant to find. But you, human, are different. You have awakened what should have remained dormant. Melissa stepped forward, her voice steady. What is this? Why are you telling us this now? The voice answered, cold and detached. Because it is time. Time for the humans to understand what they truly are. Time for them to understand their origins. You were not born from Earth, but from the ashes of an ancient experiment. You were created by us, the architects, genetically engineered to be the perfect species, to serve a higher purpose. The words hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He stumbled back, his mind racing. What do you mean? We were created? But we're human. We've always been human. No, the voice responded, its tone a chilling reminder of the truth. You are not. You are the product of a long-forgotten experiment, an attempt to create the perfect civilization. But you failed. Your kind grew too quickly, too recklessly, and now you threaten the balance of the galaxy. The Council's decision to exile you was not arbitrary. It was inevitable. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he tried to process what he was hearing. So the Council, they exiled us because we were a mistake? Yes, the voice confirmed. But it is not too late. You can still return to your purpose, return to the path we intended for you. All you need to do is surrender. Surrender to us, and you will be given the knowledge and power to fulfill your true potential. Refuse, and you will cease to exist as you are now. Ethan's mind reeled. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about everything, the very essence of humanity, of Earth's place in the universe. What did this mean for them? Could they really accept this truth? Could they surrender? We won't surrender, Ethan said, his voice firm. We are who we are. We are human. And we will fight for our place in this galaxy. The voice was silent for a moment, as if considering his words. Then, it responded, colder than before. Then your fate is sealed. You have made your choice. There is no turning back now. Suddenly, the room shook, and the walls around them began to glow with an eerie, pulsating light. The structure seemed to come alive, and Ethan felt a surge of power course through the air. The Intrepid's alarms blared as the ship outside shuddered under the strain. Get back to the ship! Ethan shouted. Now! The crew scrambled to make their way back to the Intrepid, the alien structure shaking violently as if protesting their departure. But the truth was clear now, Earth's past, its true origins, were not something they could easily escape. The fleet had always known. And now, they were about to face the consequences of defying the architects.